chairman. I guess we should start with a quick who people are and what their interest is. And then we have a couple of things we definitely want to talk about to do with the cargo to package mapping and new queues and things, and static linking in general, and anything else anyone is interested in. So let's start. Who wants to go first? I just ask. Silwall, I know you know what's going on.
Yeah. Hi everybody. Yeah, I stumbled upon the Rust ecosystem around 5 years ago, and I had been using Debian for a very long time, and thought it might make sense to start working on supporting the Rust ecosystem within Debian. So I took my chance and started. I'm currently a Debian maintainer in the process of application for developer. Yeah, that's it basically. I have hardware software design degree, master's degree. I finished about 11 years ago.
Okay, do you have a real name you're prepared to?
Yes, my name is Wolfgang, but I usually go by Silwall in the communities.
Okay, fine. Okay, who else have we got? I think Reinhardt? Muted. Still can't hear you.
Oh, Reinhardt, you're muted.
No, never mind. Face, hi. All right, Ephraim?
Hi. Yeah.
So do you want to say what your area of interest is?
Sure. I seem to have muted myself again by accident. I'm visiting from Geeks. I ended up doing a lot of packaging of Rust packages there, mostly so that we could get Firefox working. And oh dear.
Yeah, don't push that button.
Yeah, I seem to have.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, so since then we've been packaging more and more Rust apps and trying to figure out a good way to actually make them useful, not just test if they build and then ignore them.
Okay. Who else?
So I think I should have started on my mic issues. I am Reinhardt. I've been active for a couple of years in the multimedia team, then moved on to the Golang team where I'm working on a couple of container-related packages. I joined this BoF mostly of interest because of the static linking issues. We are having that issue in the Go community as well as in the Rust community. I wanted to join this BoF to see what kind of solutions you have. You seem to have quite a bit of pre-work on that thing, and it seems to be a much more general issue than just the Go and the Rust community. And I'm wondering what can we do to solve that for all kinds of languages that prefer static linking.
Okay. Bastian.
Hi, I'm Bastian. I'm here for on invitation of Wookey for the FTP team.
Okay. Ariel. Can you hear us? We can't hear you. No? Never mind. Anthony?
Hi. My name is Anthony, and I've been a DD since 1997, and I'm here for the same reason as Reinhardt, to discuss the static linking issue with the Go team. And so, yeah, I think I'll keep it short and
Yep. Short's good. Okay, and one secret, what was it? Fellow Debianite who hasn't set their Jitsi name. Do you know who you are? Oh well. Right. We have. I don't know what's the best thing to do about this. Like I say, so we have this issue. Bastian, do you want to say kind of what the FTPmasters view of the? It seems like there are quite a lot of Rust packages. I don't know how long people have been uploading for. Is it like 4 years worth or something? Is it longer than that? But we have got some that are stuck, and it seems to be a general feeling that the FTPmasters have got fed up and aren't processing anything now. I don't know if that's really fair, and we need to change something. Is that?
There are a couple of problems. Where to begin? Yeah. I think the whole thing started with a bug report against Repro. There is a package which got a provides line of over 256K, which is larger than the package itself.
Right.
That's
yeah.
About what started that all. Then it looks like every upload of a Rust package is showing up in new, because it adds some new binary package, which is actually empty.
Yeah, I guess they don't all do that, but as you say, a fraction. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but clearly they change often. I suppose every time there's a new version, it's got new binary.
It's a feeling, and it really happens way too much, because they are small. They don't do much.
Yeah, it's entirely mechanical artifact to generate. So my main question actually is, can you remind us, why do we do new for binary packages? Because especially in this kind of mechanical case, it seems to be entirely pointless and just annoys everyone. What are we actually achieving?
Because the FTP team is not only responsible for license compliance, but also for the overall archive contents, namespacing, and so on. So we look at every new binary package if it is actually usable.
Okay, but I mean, so is there any? I guess this has been discussed before, but I mean, could we have a mechanism for just some things going through new because of binary packages just make work, and maybe we should stop doing that?
There might be one, but we come to the decision that the Rust team will not get that permission, okay. At least in the current state.
Right.
It would be for things like the kernel.
Okay. Because I mean, yeah, I think it's probably a general case that there's other reasons where the new binaries are just artifacts, and it seems like that isn't a particularly good use of people's time. But
yeah,
okay.
If you like, I can describe the technical background a little bit on how this works.
May I say something else? You also showed up on the release team's radar now. Someone from the release team thought about just removing all of Rust from testing and let it trickle in bit by bit, because he was not really successful into getting stuff updated because of the intertangled dependencies.
Yeah, we have the auto removal after 60 days in place since some time, and things have definitely become easier to trickle through. But yeah, maybe this would be an option as well. I think it doesn't really matter which way we choose.
So the release team want to effectively sort of have a reset. Is that the thinking?
They thought about it,
Right.
because because their tooling wasn't able to cope. The problem of the release team is that they look at source packages, and where you try to avoid dependency cycles between binary packages, you create binary dependency cycles between source packages. So the tooling needs to handle all the cycle in one step, and it can't really do that automatically in all cases.
Yeah, I mean, so my understanding this isn't very good, and Silwall should explain some things to me, but I'll ask naive questions because that's probably helpful. So obviously this kind of mapping, as you know, the cargo binary packages are really source packages in order to emulate what cargo does, kind of thing, in a Debian package context. So that's a bit weird, but it's a bit of a hack to deal with the way cargo works. And maybe one day, so Rust does have dynamic linking, and we could make it like a sensible language, except that it's not stable yet, so we can't really use that. And I know ARM people are pushing upstream to go, we need a stable ABR, you idiots, please can we have one? So probably that will improve over time. I think unlike some other languages, which are just like Go, I don't think it's ever going to do that. So that doesn't really make this general problem go away. But I guess the Go people must have a different mapping system because their module's a bit different and haven't got this crazy explosion of provides and packet and binary packages. Sorry, there isn't really a question, but is all that's correct, right?
Yeah, that explosion is caused because the cargo stuff creates a binary package per feature.
Yeah.
And you have a feature creep. I think the only solution I see is you stop doing that and break cycles on the source packages.
Yeah, so I haven't quite understood this cycles part. I've seen that people are talking about, we have to break cycles, and you go, why? So Silwall, can you explain why we pick this particular mechanism rather than something more conventional?
Otherwise, you wouldn't even have the problem. You could just remove all the packages for the features because it would just work. But people told me that then you have cycles, and upstream uses features to break cycles into small pieces. So yeah, I have a cycle between A and B, A, B, and C. So I create a feature without A, without B, without C. So I don't have a cycle.
Okay, so it's a little bit like a sort of a build profile in Debian speak, maybe, or a sub package kind of, the part of the functionality that I depend on, as opposed to the whole package, which is nice. And obviously preserving that and mapping it into the package world is kind of neat because it means it just works. Cargo works just like cargo works, but that's not necessarily the best thing for us to achieve. And as you say, it has this rather unfortunate side effect on the archive. I was hoping DKG would turn up, as he's obviously looked at this, but never mind. I guess it's very early in America. Because there's a question of how much bigger all of this stuff is. Obviously, some point it's too much. It's a little bit hard to say how much is too much, isn't it? I guess if you lot have said it's too much, ultimately we're stuck until we can persuade you otherwise. Yeah, Silwald, did you have anything to respond?
Yeah, regarding the cycles, they are definitely in place in the upstream projects. Sometimes, for example, it's a dependency used for building the tests or for running the tests or something. We have been discussing maybe we could add some kind of method collapsing all or many features of a cargo crate into a single binary feature package. So we would, for example, the WebSys package is the one that landed up with too long provides line. So we would have an entry in our configuration that says, okay, collapse all these features into one binary package instead of these many. And in this case, they ended up in a provides, but it would work the same for binary packages. But it's somewhat a dirty hack, and nobody has gotten around to finally implement the proof of concept yet.
So we actually have two things that are exploding the number of packages and dependencies, right? There's the versioning and the features. Obviously, they multiply each other. So is the versioning there because upstream effectively expects to be able to use two different versions of things?
Yeah,
we can't just pick a version like we can. For C libraries, we try very hard not to have more than a couple of versions of something.
Yeah, in the Rust world, it's let's say it's not very common, but it happens that you have two different versions of a crate in your dependency tree.
So Rust is able to resolve multiple versions of the same name, or what will happen if you actually do that and try to build it?
If you add it usually happens somewhere down in the tree. So, for example, you have a crate that you depend on, and this crate has a dependency to another crate. A crate is the name for a library in Rust. And then you have a second dependency, which depends on a different version of that crate. Then both are built and included into the static binary that is created by Rust.
And that all works and gets resolved. I think there was an example in 901827 asking that dpackage could do dependencies between versions because that's effectively something that Cargo does. So we can't map exactly, and then when you get a tree of dependencies, you can end up with three different versions of something. In
exactly.
the dependency tree.
We usually try to either get upstream to use the latest version, where it is usually it happens during updates of libraries that are in a central place in the ecosystem. So we had that with the rand crate, the random number generator.
The JavaScript people do this all the time and think it's good, right? But obviously it's terrible and wrong. I wasn't quite sure whether this was looked at as a feature by Rust people, which we really are going to have to support because that's how the ecosystem works, or if it's something where actually we can normally get a sensible, one or two versions of something, which we can do with, we've been doing in Debian since forever. We just have to name packages properly. So most of the time you just say the package, and if you want to support more than one, you have to change the things. The problem is that that's manual work, and with big library trees, that gets to be, maintaining that is a lot more work than just having automagic translation stuff, which generates reams of pointless packages, but it does just translate, and only the computers have to worry about it. And I think this is the trade-off that seems to be the argument. That there aren't that many people in the Rust team, and we don't really want to do this kind of manual care of individual packages to compress features into beyond what Cargo just did, and what the automatic translation gives us, which works, but isn't very Debian-y, and is annoying FTPmasters. It's never a good thing. So yeah, I don't know the answers to this. I'm just trying to understand it. Does anyone else who hasn't spoken want to say either what they're interested in or have opinions on what we might do about effectively changing things?
So for me, I would like to hear what is your thinking, what is your tooling around rebuilding packages in case of, well, there's a new upstream version, you want to see whether it breaks other packages, or there's a security update and that requires identifying and actually rebuilding whole subset of the archive. That is the most pressing questions from the release team and security team to the Golang community. And I'm wondering, what are you doing in the Rust community to address this issue?
Yeah, I must admit, I came to the Rust team when most of the things were defined and already set. I just submitted a few patches to DebCargo. So how we handle this is we have this DebCargo tool. It takes a look at the cargo configuration file, the cargo.toml file, and places, let's say it places the Debian package sources into a subfolder, which we can then use to build the package, but we upload the source package, of course. This tool also adds some, I would need to look it up, but it adds some fields to the control file. I think it was something like xcargo built with. No, I don't remember exactly, but
built using is the standard thing. Do we use that, or do we have our own craziness?
Yeah, we use that as well, but I think there is something else. And this, so for cargo or for Rust packages in Debian, we usually have the binary packages which actually contain the source, and these extra binary feature packages, which are meta packages that just point to which features are available and require an extra dependency. And in the end, we don't have to rebuild each lib in the tree, but we just rebuild the packages containing real executables, so the leaf packages, so to speak.
But has someone written a tool to examine the stuff in the archive when we know there's an update? I mean, I think that's what Reinhard was asking about. What mechanism are we using to actually generate the rebuilds and send in
As far as I know, not, but I might miss something here.
So you mean maybe nobody's looking after it? What do the Go people do?
I'm not aware of an structured approach. So Clemens and I have been thinking yesterday about maybe we can use. I mean, the FTP teams have asked us to stop using build using. So we are looking at adopting one that is X cargo field that the Rust team is proposing to identify, okay, what binary packages need to be rebuilt. And Clemens and I were thinking about a tool that would then submit these bin-in-MUs. I was thinking, well, look, if we needed to do a full dependency rebuild, then it makes things more complicated because now you need to think about in what order do you submit these bin-in-MUs. Another challenge was you can't bin-in-MU arc all packages, so we need to come up with a mechanism to do sourcefuls re-uploads that don't have any change. I find it quite interesting that you point out, well, we don't actually need to do full archive rebuilds, and we can just build the leaf packages in an arbitrary order. That is kind of surprising to me, and I need to think more about this. Bastian, do you have any thoughts or opinions on this?
No, I don't.
I know the Haskell people are really organized about this and have been for a long time, because I think they were the first people to really have this problem at scale, and they built themselves some kind of system which seems to work. Maybe we should all copy their stuff.
Haskell is a little bit a different problem because they have to rebuild all the library packages, which Go and Rust don't need to.
Okay.
They have to rebuild the whole dependency chain.
Like starting at the bottom and
starting at the bottom at the compiler.
Right. Okay. Every time there's a new compiler version or something.
Yes.
Right. Okay. That's it. Okay. And this is a slightly different problem. And which appears to vary by language, exactly what the constraints are.
I am not aware of a universal solution for that, because we don't usually do static linking in the traditional languages, so we don't actually have that problem.
No, exactly. I mean, Debian's sort of fundamental design, a lot of it is based on the kind of the C view of the world, and you know, dynamic linking is the right answer. That's what we should be doing, which is why all this static stuff sort of doesn't. It's a bit square pegs and round holes kind of thing. But unfortunately, the world seems to like it rather a lot, and I'm not sure we can persuade all these upstreams to stop doing it. So we may have to adjust some larger things to accommodate all this staticness better, because that is less of a problem in Red Hat world, because they already rebuild everything a lot anyway, or they rebuild all dependencies when they upload new things anyway. And then part of our design, a lot of it comes back to 20 years ago when we are terribly short of build resource, so we designed things so that we didn't need to rebuild things, which was good and efficient and lovely, but perhaps that's less true than it was.
How do you think could security work, the security part actually work if you say you have 3 versions of a crate in the archive and only one actually is supported? How would security work?
Yeah, I guess that's a question for the ecosystem and what the Rust people expect to happen. Rust people especially claim security is good. So if their other mechanisms are making it terrible, we can beat them over the head with it and say, this doesn't make any sense.
Usually, if you submit a merge request for updating a dependency, most of the ecosystem responds positive and quickly to it. So
we should generally be able to use a current version for everything and not have to be supporting loads of versions.
Yes, at least that's the goal. I think we had some libs that had massive API changes between versions, but the Rust ecosystem typically follows the Semver specification quite tightly, so this is visible in the version numbers.
Right. I mean, that happens in the rest of the world too, and it's it's a problem like Qt 4 to 5 and things, which is painful-tastic, but we manage. So I don't think we can say that that's a reason for not being able to do normal things. Why do the Go people not have this problem of enormous numbers of dependencies? Because you've got the same basic mechanism of basically putting binary packages, which are really source packages, so that the Go module system can build things, right?
They don't handle something like features. They don't handle version dependencies. They usually just have one version of
Right.
it. And if it doesn't work, then screw it.
Okay, which is more conventional.
There are. It is more conventional. So you're right. There are some cases like the recent protobuf bindings where we do have several versions, and we do actually a very similar approach to what we do for traditional packages like Qt. We upload the source into different source packages. So there is a protobuf package for the old API and for the new API, and they have different names for source packages and binary packages, and we tag along and do it like other languages do it as well. But in general, Bastian is right.
Okay, so I guess the question is there really a good reason why Rust can't do something more like that? I mean, we've come up with this scheme, but it's getting pushback. And whilst it's, I think it's easy to automate. That's the nice feature, right? It means you can take whatever upstream did and just reflect it in Debian's mechanisms. But the problem is that we have this kind of combinatorial explosion associated with that. And do we really need it? Zimin is unfortunately not here. He seemed to be the person arguing loudest in bug reports to say, yes, we're not changing it. It's a good system. Leave us alone.
Yeah, his arguments also go into the direction that he considers the new queue for binary packages to be unnecessary.
I'm inclined to agree with that, but I guess if the FTPmasters are all of one mind on that, we're kind of stuck with it for now. Bastian, would it be fair to say that you are a fair representation of what FTPmasters in general think? Is there any disagreement?
I think I got a good knowledge what they usually want. And
okay. I guess I still don't understand why we want to keep the new review of auto-generate for metadata packages. Just I don't quite see what we're achieving.
Because no one actually proposed an algorithm to decide may this binary package added to the source package. Is this allowed, or
right? Yeah. What's the definition of something so trivial, small, known, understood, whatever, that it could skip the queue?
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I mean, there is obviously a big difference between adding a whole new thing in the kind of convention and a big package, which is splitting out a big chunk or whatever. Because a lot of the time it's just a different split of the same source, I guess, in more normal packages. But obviously, potentially with extra binaries and licensing issues or namespace problems. I mean, I think the namespace, I guess, isn't really a problem here because it's all librus dash whatever. So we've kind of got a namespace to play in, which it seems to me isn't going to cause problems.
Bastian, if I may ask a question, is there anything that you can imagine that we could do from the packaging side as Rust and Golang packages to make reviewing these kind of packages easier? Is there some metadata, or is there some pattern or some strategy that we could do to allow you to fast track these kind of packages to reduce the latency here?
No, not right now, because the review is not the problem. The review itself is not a problem. The problem is that we don't want the stuff in this state because it explodes.
Yeah, you don't like the mechanism, so you're now
Yes.
reluctant to add more of it. It was all right when there's only a bit.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Well, I guess that's fairly clear. It does seem like we might have to. I mean, the problem is finding somebody. If you know, people like Zimin are just going to go, nope, I'm not changing it. We have to find someone who's prepared to do some work. I don't mind having a look, but I'm a bit new to all this, so I'm not really going to do a very good job, and already have far too many hats. It's the usual problem. But you know, I think it does seem like we're kind of getting to a point where we're stuck unless we change something.
I must admit I'm really new to this, but from what I'm hearing, I'm think perhaps there's a way to rewrite or maybe fork, maybe not fork, to do some kind of tooling with cargo. So it has like two modes. Like one is what it has been doing. Another way is like to somehow make it automated, but not split off into new packages for each new feature. So maybe that's something to consider. And has it been done like the discussion with cargo upstream to see if that's a possible, like if that's like a compact mode to keep all new features in one package, that kind of thing?
Maybe I should explain how this mechanism works. So we have features in Cargo, and you can add features that either don't or that do require extra library grades as their dependency. And the mechanism works in that way when the feature is when the feature does not require an extra dependency, then it is added into the provides line. And when it does require an extra dependency, separate binary package is created for it. And this has the dependency to the extra library that is required.
Okay, which is
so
nice.
It actually works quite well, apart from these issues with the long provides lines and such things. The problem is, so we had upstream sources that added an extra dependency to this feature because they switched from one library to a different library that they used, and then boom, we had a new binary package added that had been in the provides line before, and now it needs to go through new again.
So I guess a bit of analysis of the whole tree and just how many of these feature things exist, and how many dependency cycles we've got and stuff, which is an area I know quite a lot about, having done a lot of bootstrapping. So I suppose a bit of analysis on, you know, to what degree could we compress features into packages without actually causing any extra work. I don't know. Maybe it's not at all. Maybe it's quite a lot. I'm kind of wondering whether, do we need to version everything? You know, if in fact you could do a load of packages which are just the package, and we only version things when we need to, because more than one is required. I don't know if there's, that's manual work, but we probably only have to do it once, except when, for some reason, two versions of something become important down the tree. I don't know. I guess all these packages are tiny, so it's easy for upstream to end up using a lot of different bits. And the problem is you never know whether someone actually needs a different version of something or just happens to have a different version in their list. This is always a problem. But, you know, other languages manage, and although that's part of the reason Debian's often a bit slow, is this sort of what upstreams would view as pointless make work that distros do. But sometimes that's because they don't understand, and sometimes they've kind of got a point. I guess we've only got another 5 minutes. Is there anything else we should discuss?
Just a last point to the previous discussion. The Go team has been doing a lot of manual work, and maybe that's why we didn't run into this problem. And we have been lucky that usually the latest version is compatible with everything. So yeah, hard problem, but I'll leave it at that, and we can go on to the next topic.
Yeah. Is there anything else? Otherwise, we can carry on this. Anyone hasn't spoken and wishes to say what they're interested in? They're all quiet introverts. Sorry,
Hi.
no, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm Daniele. I started using Rust 2 years ago, sporadically. I just changed a job where I will have the opportunity to use it daily. I just want to help the team. I have to refresh my what I have looked at the last year about packaging Rust, but I'm here to help. So I'm not so experienced in packaging Rust application, but I can volunteer. I will have more time. So.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Sounds like we could do. I don't know. So what? To what degree are we horribly undermanned? And there's nothing like enough people. I guess that's normal.
Sorry?
I was just wondering to what degree there's a shortage of people to do.
Currently, many people have given up packaging again because of the whole issue we have. We had some motivated contributors that reduced their work down to nearly zero. So I would be really happy if we could find a solution that works for both sides.
That's what I mean. I think we probably need to try and change something because, as you say, it's demotivating at the moment.
Of course, we always need people, but currently we can't give them any real work to do.
I would like to point out a very similar picture is also in the Golang community. People working on core infrastructure topics such as the Golang Dev helper and the security people are really hard to come by.
Maybe some words that were written in the chat by KPCYRD, who is watching the stream. They said, the removal of all packages in testing was requested by me. The reason it was necessary was new. And the second comment is regarding the security maintenance. The info which version was used to build a given binary can be looked up from the build info files. Not ideal, but at least something.
Right.
Just so that it's in the stream as well.
I think there was some discussion about whether we should be using build info or built using or some other mechanism for this kind of tracking of what stuff was actually built with. Right. Well, I guess our time's up. Thank you, everybody. I think that was useful, if not necessarily particularly encouraging.
One last thing, we have an IRC meeting later, I think in 3 or 4 hours. Maybe whoever is interested in the topic might want to join.
Yes, good point. On the Debian-Rust channel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, well, thank you all. We should probably do this again because clearly some of these problems are not going away. And I think more inter-team action will probably help us solve the general case. It's one thing Debian's good at. We're not very fast, but we are quite good at solving the general case eventually. So I'll do what I can to help out. I hope this was useful. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks, Bastian, for turning up.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.